Hello everyone, got another video for you. But first I want to give a shout out and a plug for this paid advertisement. FTK Transport, and I'll simply say FTK Transport is back with new equipment. Add him and lock in his route. He covers all of the East Coast. To contact him, the phone number is 228-870-5843, and I'll put after I post this vid, I'll put the phone number up in the comments section. I posted it in my Facebook group also, and I got feedback from people that had previously used them saying they are very satisfied. So if you want to solicit their business, if you live on the East Coast, give them a holler, set it up, and much thanks to them. In this vid, again, this came up in the topic. As everybody noticed, or everybody who's in my group probably notices that pays attention, I post, and others post, topics there. And a lot of them I turn into videos because it's easier to talk, for me anyways, than to write. And I can get more information out. So a lot of these come from other people. Some of them, the topics are my own. I always encourage people to send me topics. I have dozens of them, and I pick and choose which ones are relevant for the time. I try to make them as soon as possible after the topic has been posted, and sometimes, again, I still get donations from people for specific topics that they want to see covered. That's always available. You can get a hold of me. My Cash App is $schoolboy2023, or if you just contact me again on Facebook Messenger, my email, richardjschoolboy60@gmail.com, or on Instagram. But that's how a lot of these topics come along. And again, I just pick and choose which ones, or if somebody asks me, especially if it's a friend. A lot of them come from Hunter Man, Mr. Gray, different people and some people don't even want to be named. They don't want to plug. They just come up with a good topic and I'll cover it. First and foremost, if we've been friends for many years, of course, I'm going to cover them first. And if they're paid for, I'm going to cover them first. So there's no, but for the most part, they're just random choices. Sometimes I have to do some research, and I'm getting long-winded here, but you guys understand the gist of it. This one I'm going to call Confrontation, Engaging, Gameness. What are the origins? And what are the origins of these behaviors? Because it's something that's always talked about. Why do our dogs do what they do? And you could even say because we're mammals, and there's a lot of mammals that are predator and prey, and there's a lot of mammals that are predator and their prey isn't mammal. But what are the origins of these behaviors? Why does the pit bull breed? Why does it fight, for one, and why does it display gameness, for two? Now, it's anybody's opinion. If you've observed the pit bull in past years, and again, here's the disclaimer: nothing is meant or intended for illegal purposes. This one in particular is for education, and it's for conversation. Everything I talk about is history, even though it may sound like I'm talking in current times. I don't have dogs I haven't had for many years. But I do have notes dating back 40 years and files and all different kinds of stuff. This has been something since the beginning of the breed, which goes back however long. and any sporting, working animal, mammal, whatever it is, in the wild, domesticated, they all have certain instincts uh, that they exhibit. And with the pit bull breed, it was bred for that confrontation, that gameness, to engage one-on-one. So this one is directed specifically or mainly to mammals. I've mentioned this before too, and a lot of people felt the same way. Some have a counter to it. Is it no instinct for survival or no self-preservation? Is that part of the makeup of that confrontation? Or is it an instinct for survival? They understand if they don't finish the task, their life could be taken. So that's kind of a little controversy. People have their own opinion on that, because you think, a dog in the past, our dogs in the past doing that, they must not care about their life, because they're willing to go above and beyond and sometimes give up their life to do what they do. And that could be said in other aspects of the breed or a dog in general. Dogs have been known to give up their life for their human owners, for children, for people in danger, to save them from drowning. Sometimes a kid makes it, the dog don't. The dog drowns. And they're willing to do that. In either case, they're either, quote unquote, fighting without regard to survival or fighting for their own survival. So we can go back and forth on that. People can put their comments. I really enjoy the comments when you guys post them after the video's put out, so I appreciate that. Of course, I have notes here. Now, it's been understood, and you can look a lot of this stuff up and do, I always advise when you do research, back and forth, front to back, side to side, all the way around, as much research as you can about any particular subject or subjects, and see where the conclusions lead you. Some of them counter each other, some of them don't agree with each other, some of them are have different opinions or different outcomes, right? But whenever studies are done, I prefer them to be done in the natural environment rather than an enclosed, controlled environment. If you want to call that a scientific experiment, you can, but that's what I prefer. For example, wolves in captivity, studies have been done for years and years, breeding and pack mentality and all this stuff, and it was determined many years ago that, the alpha male, alpha female, they fight for dominance and all this, that, and they have, well, one guy went to Yellowstone National Park and observed wolves in their natural state, in their natural environment over a long period of time. And his determination was, it's not that they're fighting or they're being dominant to be the pack leader or the alpha male and female. It's the fact that they are the parents of the individuals in that pack. So that's what led to them being dominant or alpha. They were the parents, so they created a family unit. Naturally, that hierarchy of the mama and the daddy, if you want to put it that way, they're at the top of the food chain. They're at the top of the hierarchy. It wasn't that they fought for it. It's that they created it by creating a family. So that was something interesting that came out later. How this relates to dogs, our dogs, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But one of the things, the release of endorphins is so high, it seems to make them junkies for that confrontation. And endorphins could be, here's an example of which, maybe this is an origin, not so much in dogs, but in different mammals. Elephants in must, or deer in rut, it changes them. And if people are around, or rivals are around, or anything's around, it makes them very aggressive. They become dangerous. An elephant or deer, an elephant in must or a deer in rut is more likely to attack and kill humans than when they're not. So that part is sex related, right? And I've seen dogs, and other people have mentioned, and they kind of go crazy, when they're confronting each other. They like out of their mind. They're blind fury. All these trigger words or expressions used to, why the dog is doing what he's doing. And it's not always that way. It's not across the board that way. Some are calm and peaceful, and they didn't look like they would do anything until they were confronted. Then it's on, right? But I think most people agree that gameness is not a singular. It's not. It doesn't come from one gene. But I think it's multiple genes put together that allow this individual to go above and beyond, to cross that line. That's just my opinion. And the best ones for it were the ones selectively bred, right? And it's like, we call gameness a trait, even though I think it takes multiple traits to produce gameness, just like multiple traits to produce a fighting individual. Where maybe like a hunting dog, it's not for that hunting instinct, whether it's sight or sound or smell or whatever. It's more singular, if you will, right? Other physical attributes the hunting dog has to have. He has to be able to run and be able to be durable and all this stuff. Those also are instinctive in our breed, right? Even though they're not used for hunting, they do have a good sense of smell and hearing and eyesight and physicality. And if that gameness trait is lost, it's very hard to regain. So even though it's multiple things, in my opinion, that make up gameness, right, it becomes part of the DNA or part of the genetic makeup of the individual that has it, or he has it in him. He's born with it, you could say, right? So, an animal that continues to fight in the face, they continue to fight in the face of adversity, so they can't be capitalized on or dominated or taken advantage of. I think they instinctively understand that. That's why the confrontation continues. We call that winning and losing. We call that gameness or quitting. Which one is going to continue in that face of adversity? Because if it's even, even in, say, boxing, if the fight is even, the fighters they're in the fight. There's no winner or loser yet during that fight. And both in their mind think they have a chance to win. It's close even. But when one starts to dominate or have the advantage, that's where the heart comes in. That's where the gameness. Does that individual who's losing want to stay there? Right? So I think with our breed, they understand that. And in their mind, they think they're winning no matter what. That's why my opinion comes about. They don't care about self-preservation. That instinct for survival is very low in a game dog, because they don't care if they live or not, whether they understand that concept or not. That's what they're exhibiting, to me, anyways. In mammals, increased testosterone levels, it makes them aggressive, restless, energetic, unpredictable, irritable, oversensitive to sounds, movements, and counter aggressiveness from another individual, right? Now, with the elephants in must and the deer in rut, they exhibit all those traits. But in other situations, mammals exhibit those traits from that increased testosterone level and the release of endorphins without that sex factor being involved. But that's been noted in mammals, especially. That's what that higher level of testosterone can produce. It can produce those traits. Now, does that have anything to do with gameness? I can't say it does. Because, for females, they don't have a high level of testosterone like males do, and they're just as game as the males. And they don't need to be in heat, or a male smell a female in heat for him to have that confrontation. It's on, it's instinctive, and that's what they do. Right? We know sex, dominance, territory, food, all have to do with the survival of the species. They may not be the specific reasons pit dogs fought in the past, but they may be the origins of fighting. Now, if you understand what I'm saying here, is those mechanisms may have been what led to producing an animal that will confront another one and continue with that fighting instinct, that task, and display gameness to a point where they don't need any of those original traits to confront another individual, if you understand what I'm saying. Right? So they may not be the specific reasons pit dogs fought in the past, but they may be the origins of fighting. I reiterate that. Also, hunting, killing, prey drive may be part of the equation, but not part of the equation for gameness. And I just wanted to mention that because people see aggressive dogs, or they see a dog with high prey drive, or they see a dog with good hunting skills. And they all might have, certain dogs might have all those, one or two or all of those traits in them. But that may not be, but those are not necessarily related to the actual fight itself, right? And I'm not saying those traits are bad. I just want to mention that because people get that mixed up with gameness. They see a dog aggressive or good prey drive or hunting skills, and they call that game. That's not gameness. At the same time, those traits are good in an individual for their particular reasons, just like hard mouth is, just like good air is, right? And all of those traits put together are what made our breed what it was in the past. But there's not any one individual trait of those that is proof of a dog's heart, his gameness. And that's why I think it's not just from one gene, it's accumulation, mentally and physically, of why our breed was able to do what it did. Fight that hard, fight under those conditions, fight for that length of time, fight under duress. Because one of the reasons a dog quits is because, when the pace slows down and they have time to think about it, their question to themselves, whether they realize it or not, is, do I want to be here or not? If they want to be there, they stay there. If they don't want to be there, they'll quit. So a lot of times that first opening salvo, if you want to call it that, their endorphins are released and their testosterone's up and their adrenaline is pumping. So they ignore what's happening in that moment as far as am I going to stay or am I going to quit? When it starts to slow down and they have time to think about it, that's what I mean. That's a lot of times when the dog will quit or would quit in the past. And all those, they're uh, all those accumulation determines when uh, an individual would decide to continue past the point of survival. Now, all previously mentioned traits, those are triggers leading to a confrontation and forms of gameness. But once the fighting / gameness is instilled in an individual, they don't need a trigger or a reason to fight or be game. They don't need it doesn't have to. What I'm trying to say here is once those traits are instilled in the individual, they don't need those ancient or outside influences for them to have that confrontation. It doesn't have to be, I'm protecting my mate, I'm protecting the pack, I'm protecting my food source, I'm protecting my territory, I'm protecting my hierarchy in the pack, or my dominance, if I'm an individual like a tiger, over my territory. Right? Those are not in the equation anymore. And that's what's interesting. That's what was interesting about the post, to me anyways, people making all these comments. It just enlightened me to the fact that all these points are valid. And all these traits may be the origin of why the pit dog in the past fought the way it did and displayed heart the way it did. But once those traits are once that instinct for fighting is instilled in the animal, now it doesn't need a reason. Those were the origins of why they did it. But now, once all that is instilled, it's part of their DNA or genetic makeup, and they fight because they want to, and for no other reason than it's bred into them. So I guess, hopefully I'm being clear here. But once those traits are set, that's what the individual is. That's what he does. And that's why a lot of people don't understand when they're taking their dogs out in public or they're putting in this situation. It could be an accident waiting to happen. It's hard to change hundreds, if not thousands of years of instinct that's been instilled into individual breed, like our dog, or like roosters, or even like racehorses. That's what they do. And with the pit dog, it's more complicated. With thoroughbred racehorses, they run to the left. Racing pigeons, they do what they do. But there's a lot more to a pit dog, I think, than other domesticated animals. But that was the point, basically, is wherever it all came from, or maybe it took all these traits coming together to produce this type of confrontational individual. Once it's in there, that's what it is. It's set in stone. And that, too, is hard to get rid of. And that's why I advise people to always use proper maintenance, preventative maintenance, and to really understand the breed, do your research, and even research on this, what I'm talking about. It'll just help you understand the breed better, to accept it for what it is, because that's what they do, and not try to change it, but protect itself from itself, especially out in public, and protect yourself from any negative response that could come from that because you think your dog is okay with other animals or is okay in public, being at a dog park or something like that. After being bred that way for so many years. And the fighting part, you could separate that from the gameness part. Because, you know, we use that word cur and dogs quit and this and that. Well, those dogs still fight. That fighting instinct is in them. The gameness part may not be in them. And the gameness part is a lesser degree than the fighting part. And some dogs won't fight at all, that's true. But for the most part, even staffs and little terriers and all this stuff, they will fight. More than just a regular dog. More than most breeds. More than most pets. They will fight. So it could even, sometimes it looks like they're being insulted. You know, that's why they fight. Or you disrespected me or something like that, you know. That's why they're fighting with each other. And a lot of times in the home, you have two dogs. It is over food. It is over jealousy. Who's getting more attention from the neighbor? And just little things like that, I think, are part of what led up to our breed having those confrontations and continuing it over length of time. It's not where they go, yeah, 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 and then stop. It's on. And they continue to do so until they have to be physically broken up. And that could be just in everyday life. So again, part of this was trying to understand where those instincts come from, and part of it was you know, advice to people that have the breed to understand what it's about. Do all your history, do your research, be around them, raise your own, test them in the not like we did in the past, that's not what I'm talking about, but testing their intelligence, testing their athleticism, see where their mind's at, really understanding your own dog, even if it's one dog, and really knowing the breed, and then accepting it for what it is. That's what they do. That's what they were bred for. And to totally breed it out, I don't care if it's 1,000 years from now, it's not going to happen. Because in 1,000 years, that confrontation, fighting, gameness instinct will have been around for thousands of years. So I hope you liked the vid. And feel free to comment. And hit up that FSK transport. Make sure I got it right. FTK transport. If you live on the East Coast. Thank you. Got another vid coming up. I think me and Mr. Gray are going to do another one very shortly. Thank you.